You ever meet someone who thinks they are the HOA? Not someone who works for them. No, I'm talking about that one neighbor who walks around with a clipboard and a sense of divine authority. Yeah, that's Karen. And she had a serious problem with how bright my porch lights were. Now, for the record, I didn't have spotlights pointing into the heavens or anything. Just a normal setup, a few warm LED bulbs above the garage and on the porch. Nothing wild. But Karen? She treated it like I'd installed a stadium lighting rig to blind aircraft mid-flight. IT started with a note. Handwritten, taped to my front door. Your porch lights are disturbing the peace. Please reduce brightness or turn them off after 9 p.m. Concerned HOA resident. No signature. But the handwriting? Oh, we all knew it was Karen. Her letters were practically their own font. Angry cursive with aggressive underlines that I laughed it off. I wasn't breaking any rules. But that's the thing about people like Karen, they don't care about rules. They care about control. What she didn't know was, I don't scare easy. Especially not over light bulbs. And if she thought I was going to dim my life just to make her feel powerful, she had another thing coming. Because instead of turning them down, I turned them way up, and that's when the real fun began. I moved into this neighborhood 3 years ago. Quiet, clean, and filled with young families and retirees who wave when they walk by. The kind of place where holiday lights go up and sink, and kids chalk up the sidewalks in summer. It's organized, but not uptight. Or so I thought. That we had an HOA, sure, but they weren't overly strict. Their rules were pretty basic. Keep your yard neat, no crazy paint jobs, and don't throw wild parties on weekdays. Stuff anyone with common sense could follow. I liked it here. I kept to myself mostly, worked from home, kept the grass cut, and occasionally hosted weekend barbecues with a few friends. Nothing ever out of the ordinary. That is, until Karen moved in. She bought the house across the street. Immediately, she stood out. Not because she was friendly, quite the opposite. She started walking the block with a notebook, always frowning, always looking for something out of place. If a flag wasn't hung straight or a lawn was half an inch too tall, she was making notes. It didn't take long for whispers to start. Karen reported our recycling bins. Karen told us our wind chimes were too loud. She became the unofficial sheriff of suburbia. And no one had voted her into that role. I stayed off her radar for a while. Or so I thought. But when you shine a little too bright in her world, she comes for you. Literally. And that's how my porch lights became the battleground. Karen wasn't on the HOA board, but you'd never guess that from the way she acted. She walked around like she owned the cul-de-sac. Always carrying her phone, snapping photos, making calls. We half-joked that she had the HOA on speed dial. She would show up at meetings even though she wasn't part of the leadership, often standing up to make recommendations for new rules. She wanted motion sensors banned. She wanted holiday inflatables, limited to 3 per yard. One guy had to remove a garden gnome because she called it a visual disruption. People started ignoring her, which only made her more intense. If she couldn't get you through policy, she'd get you through pressure. Passive-aggressive notes, anonymous complaints, and when that didn't work, face-to-face confrontations. She came at people over the dumbest stuff. One neighbor got told off for having solar lights that looked too alien. Another was scolded for using a non-standard wreath during Christmas. Her favorite phrase? It's not personal, it's policy. But it always felt personal. I tried to keep my distance. I was polite. Said hi when I had to. Never gave her a reason to focus on me. But then I installed a new porch light. A simple fixture I picked up from the hardware store. Clean design, warm LED glow. Nothing extreme. A few days later, the first note arrived. Apparently, Karen thought my light was disturbing the balance of the block. I dismissed it politely, but she didn't take kindly to being ignored. And that's when she started reporting me. To the HOA. Repeatedly, the first official complaint arrived in my email. It was from the HOA, titled Neighbor Light Violation Review. I opened it and blinked in disbelief. It said, a neighbor has reported that your exterior lighting is excessively bright and is creating light pollution. Please review HOA guidelines regarding appropriate residential lighting. I reread it 3 times. Light pollution? This wasn't a city ordinance issue. It was a porch light. And according to the HOA handbook, as long as the light didn't directly shine into another home's window and was under a certain lumen limit, it was perfectly acceptable. Still, I decided to be thorough. I measured the lumens, took photos. I even walked across the street to see what it looked like from Karen's house. Nothing outrageous. A soft amber glow, and completely within the HOA limits. So I replied to the HOA, attached my photos and measurements, and asked if I was in violation. They responded 2 days later. No violation found at this time. Thank you for your cooperation. I thought that was the end of it. Wrong. The next night, I saw her standing in her driveway, just staring at my house, arms folded, face set like she was witnessing a crime scene. The next morning, another note. You clearly don't care about the community. Please be considerate. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. I had already followed the rules. But that only made her angrier. She began filing more complaints. First about the side light, then the garage lights, then even the solar lights lining my walkway. Every single one of them came back from the HOA with the same result. No violation. But she wasn't giving up. And neither was I. After her fourth failed complaint, Karen changed tactics. She started talking to other neighbors, trying to rally support. I heard she knocked on doors, asking people to sign a petition to ban outdoor lighting after 9 p.m. Most of them declined politely. Some just laughed. She left flyers and mailboxes warning about nighttime overexposure and referenced a bunch of articles about sleep disorders. You'd think my porch light was single-handedly disrupting circadian rhythms across the block. Then came the threats, not directly from her, of course, but through the HOA. Ongoing complaints may result in a formal review. Excessive light disturbances can constitute a nuisance under our community guidelines. I wasn't technically being cited, but it was clear Karen was wearing them down. That's when I decided enough was enough. If she wanted a war over lights, I was ready to play. But I wasn't going to break rules. I wasn't going to stoop to her level. That I was going to win on paper. I read every line of the HOA handbook. Turns out, while there were limits on brightness, they were based on lumen output and direction, not number of fixtures. So I got creative. I replaced my porch light with a newer, more efficient bulb. Same lumens, but better spread. Then I added decorative lanterns along my walkway. Motion activated, of course. Then solar string lights in my bushes. Everything fully compliant. And to top it off, a smart LED strip outlining the roof. Set to soft warm white. Time to shut off at 10:01 p.m. Just outside her window's view. All within HOA rules. But oh, it was brilliantly annoying that I called it Operation Glow Up. Every fixture, bulb, and light source I added was legal. Each one was subtle on its own. But together, my house glowed like a magazine cover. Cozy, tasteful, but impossible to ignore. Neighbors started noticing. Hey, your place looks amazing at night. Are those solar lanterns? Where'd you get them? One guy even asked if I could help him set up something similar. But across the street, Karen looked like she was about to explode. She filed 3 new complaints in 1 week. Over-illumination, visual harassment, intentional nuisance. The HOA responded again. No violations. Karen showed up at the next community meeting with a printed PowerPoint. I kid you not. She had slides titled Light Terrorism in Suburbia. She tried to convince the board to rewrite the lighting guidelines, but the board had had enough. We've reviewed the property, the president said. Everything is within policy. We encourage residents to resolve personal disputes directly. Boom. Karen stormed out of the meeting. From then on, she stopped waving, stopped making eye contact. But she didn't file another complaint. I guess she finally understood something. You can only play dictator for so long before the village stops listening. And the best part? My house looked fantastic. The lights stayed. The complaints stopped. But Karen? She didn't let go that easily. She started parking her car in weird spots, trying to block my driveway sightline. She'd stand outside, watering her lawn, at 9 p.m. while muttering under her breath. Once, she walked past and said, "Some people think they're clever." I just smiled. Then, she did something unexpected. She installed her own lights. Big, gaudy, white-blue LEDs surround her windows. They looked like a cross between an airport runway and a UFO landing pad. It was so bright, you could see her house from space. Only problem? She didn't read the handbook. Her lights? Directly aimed at her neighbor's window. Guess who filed the complaint? Not me. Her other neighbor. The HOA came out. Took one look. Violation notice issued immediately. She tried to fight it, but it was a clear rule break. Oh, the irony. She took them down within a week. No new ones went up. The Karen Spotlight era had ended. At the next HOA meeting, something amazing happened. The board brought up the excessive number of complaints filed by one resident in a short period of time. Without naming names, they made it clear that abuse of the reporting system wouldn't be tolerated. That a motion was proposed to limit anonymous complaints unless accompanied by photo evidence. It passed unanimously. Karen looked like she swallowed a lemon. One neighbor leaned over to me and whispered, "You really lit up her world, huh?" We both laughed. Karen didn't show up to the next meeting. And just like that, peace returned to the block. People like Karen thrive on fear and control. They think rules are weapons, not guidelines. But when you use logic, patience, and a little bit of creativity, you can beat them at their own game. I never broke a single rule. I didn't yell. I didn't fight. I just made things brighter. So the next time someone tries to dim your light just because they can't handle your shine, make it brighter. Thanks for watching my story. Drop your worst HOA or neighbor experience in the comments. I read everyone. And hey, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more real-life revenge stories and suburban sagas. Until next time, stay glowing.